This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Greetings viewers, you're watching Pulse of Africa. I am Tinsaya Gabriel bringing you today's latest news. First, here are our top stories for today. China and Morocco sign memorandum to boost bilateral diplomatic ties. Guinea holds referendum on new constitution. African Union, European Union, and United Nations reaffirm support for multilateralism. Now the news in detail. China and Morocco are boosting bilateral diplomatic ties through the signing of a new memorandum of understanding. Morocco's Foreign Affairs Minister Nasser Bourita signed the agreement on Friday in Beijing with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. The agreement seeks to set up strategic dialogue mechanism between the two countries' foreign affairs ministries, as well as restructuring high-level dialogue between Rabat and Beijing. The text also aims to enhance coordination and communication on issues of mutual interest, building on the 2016 joint statement on strategic partnership between King Mohammed VI and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Guinea voted on Sunday in a long-awaited referendum on a new constitution, seen as a crucial step towards elections and return to civilian rule. The draft charter extends the presidential term from 5 to 7 years, renewable once, and creates a Senate within one-third of its members appointed by the president. In the final days of campaigning, Conakry was dotted with posters urging a yes vote marked with a green check. The West African nation, home to the world's largest bauxite reserves, is expected to hold presidential elections in December after missing a 2024 deadline. The African Union, European Union, and United Nations held a trilateral meeting at the UN headquarters in New York on Sunday, reiterating that multilateralism remains the most effective way to address global challenges. In a joint communique, leaders including AU Commission Chair Mohamed Ali Youssef, European Council President Antonio Costa, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres commended violations of international law and stressed adherence to the UN Charter. They discussed peace efforts in Sudan, Libya, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, while also addressing terrorism in the Sahel. The three organizations reaffirmed support for the AU-led peace operations, sustainable development, debt relief, and ambitious climate action ahead of the COP30 in Brazil. Kenyan President William Ruto said that Africa's exclusion from the United Nations Security Council is unacceptable and indefensible. He made the statement while addressing the 7th summit of the Committee of the 10 Heads of State and Government on UN Security Council reform, which was convened by Sierra Leone during the 80th UN General Assembly. He added that this historic injustice must be corrected to make the UN fit for purpose. He emphasized that African leaders must amplify Africa's voice on all platforms, unite behind fair representation, and defend the common African position. He affirmed that Kenya would provide full support to ensure that Africa's demands are no longer deferred. In other news, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Sunday called on the international community to silence the guns, end the suffering, build bridges, and create stability and prosperity, in a message on an International Day of Peace, observed annually on September 21st. Peace cannot wait, as the warring world is crying out for peace, said the UN chief. This year's International Day of Peace urges each of us to give voice to that call, he said. Around the world, lives are being ripped apart, childhoods extinguished, and basic human dignity discarded. Amidst the cruelty and degradation of war, Guterres said, we are seeing an explosion of conflict, international law flouted, and record numbers of people fleeing their homes, he said. All they want is peace. Peace is everyone's business, said the top UN official, adding that the impacts of war ripple around the world. A major agreement to protect marine diversity in the high seas was struck Friday when Morocco became the 60th nation to sign on, paving the way for the treaty to take effect next year. The High Seas Treaty is the first legal framework aimed at protecting the biodiversity in international waters, those that lie beyond the jurisdiction of any single country. International waters account for nearly 2/3 of the ocean, and nearly half of the Earth's surface are vulnerable to threats, including overfishing, climate change, and deep-sea mining. The high seas are the world's largest crime scene. Their unmanaged, unenforced, and regulatory legal structure is absolutely necessary, said Joanne Bergens, Senior Vice President of the Oceans at the World Wildlife Fund.
The story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa is here. only on the Pulse of Africa channel. All the time, Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa. The story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa.
Now to business news. South Africa's Department of Trade, Industry and Competition said the country's Trade Minister, Parks Tau, and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer held cordial and constructive talks following the 3 days of intense discussion by senior officials from both countries. There was no immediate word on the outcome of the talks. The South African ministry said they established a roadmap that will prioritize future talks. Finally, the Democratic Republic of Congo will lift its ban on cobalt exports from October 16 and manage global supply by imposing annual export quotas, the country's strategic minerals regulator said on Sunday. Miners will be allowed to ship up to 18,125 tons of cobalt for the rest of 2025, with annual caps of 96,600 tons in 2026 and 2027. The Authority for the Regulation and Control of Strategic Mineral Substances Markets said. Congo, which produced about 70% of global cobalt output last year, suspended exports in February after prices fell to a 9-year low. The move was extended in June, prompting force majeure declarations from major producers, including Glencore and China's CMOOC Group. Before we close, here's a quick look at the latest global commodities price updates. Next, let's take a look at the current weather forecast. That's all from Pulse of Africa today. Thank you for being with us.
This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.